Hi everyone. I thought we could do these little ornament pictures, and you can use them in your journal. You could make them into postcards. You could do them on cards, ready-made cards. There's a whole lot of things that you could do for the holidays, and it's not too early to do a few of these now, and it's not too late either. So what you need to do is I used, this is True construction paper, and I used some inks that I had that some of them were drying up, some of them were getting thick. So I decided that I'm going to use these inks up. I don't use them a lot because I like paint better. So let's do the smushing thing y'all like so much. And just spread your inks on there. Use all the colors. It's been gray here, and I've been doing a lot of neutrals in my art, so I needed some bright color. As you can see, this one's dried up in the bottom, so I got the wet residue came out, but the paint was stuck in the bottom, so I threw that out. Anyway, I just would go and I would buy an ink every now and then if I needed it for something or a project, or I saw a color I liked. So I have quite a few. And this project is really good with neons or with bright yellows, like the neon pink and orange, and this yellow works really well. And I've got a combination of FW and Amsterdam inks. I love the Amsterdam inks. I like them a lot better than FW. They've got more depth of color. So every now and then, if you think you might want to use one, you could just go and get one or two. You can use the neon paint if you want. It's just a little extra something that makes this project kind of fun in the end. So I'm smushing with just plain old sketch pad paper, and I just pulled some things out of my paper stash that I've got. I've got a big one of those things you put in your trunk filled with papers and stuff like that. So I just had some odds and ends in there. So what I ended up with was this True white construction paper, and I ended up with a piece of glossy photo paper that was old. I have some glossy photo paper that's old. It's really great with inks and paints and all different kinds of medium because it takes a little differently, then it's less absorbent. So you could even use alcohol inks if you have them. And then I just had a piece of junk paper from my mail, and I just randomly smooshed and put color down. I like this blue. And the thing is, if you have several pieces of paper, you can do more than one. As you can see, I overdo. That's okay. If you want to let it dry a little bit, then you can go back. I actually did stop and use the my dryer on these. And you can go back and add some more color. Then I got a big blob again. This is random. You can't really control it too well. So you got to just find the paper you like the best. And every paper works differently. This was after I dried it. And I was going back and adding the last colors. When I was done with this base piece, then I pulled up my other two that I'd been using to smush the colors and added some to them too. and it never fails when I record somebody's shooting outside, so excuse the noise. I cannot find a time when there's not some kind of peripheral noise. So here, this one, the photo paper was my favorite. It was the most colorful, and I also ended up dropping some colors on these and then spritzing them with water and then letting some of them run while they were still wet. This one I let run the most. I really like it. It's the photo paper. Now go pick out places on your paper that are the most interesting to you. You could make 4 cards out of one large piece of paper, but a lot of times you'll find there's a more interesting spot with more going on in it than other places on your card. And also I use these excess pieces that I have left over to make other smaller cards, or you can with the thinner paper you can use them as collage. I just use my cards. You know how I keep these little cards for tip-ins and things? And I have a whole bunch of them in a drawer, and we made them a few weeks back. And there's always some that are undone in there that I can add excess paper to. So you can use these as tip-ins or just glue them down to your journal page and add elements to them, and you've got something pre-done. I like the pink. You guys know I like pink. And sometimes the areas you pick out that you like best, when you get them finished, they're just totally different than you think they're going to look like. And here I'm adding a scrap of that blue to that card. I just randomly add things until I feel like I get the card like I want it. So here's my cards, all different, and I just use my ink bottle or empty tape rolls or other bottles to make my ornament circles, and this one I just hand drew. This next part takes the longest time, and that's going around your, I guess you could lay your bottle back down and go around it, but then you got those small in-between places. So anyway, it just takes a little time. Now this one I made solid background, but on some of these cards, like if you have more yellow and orange in the background, you can leave some of those specks of color open, and if you've got the neon in that spot, or you kind of see where your neon colors are and kind of go around some of those little areas and leave them open, then your neon spots look kind of like Christmas lights. I thought that was kind of cool. That was a happy accident. I had left a hole and I thought, oh, that looks kind of like a Christmas light. So you might have to, if you're using acrylic paint to do the outside edge, which is what I did, you might have to, because the ink is just too transparent, you might have to wet it down a little bit if you've got thicker paint. Put a little water on your brush to get that to move around a little bit easier. If you use a dark background, you could also splatter white to make it look like snow or other colors. You can do anything you want. You can go back in and make marks on your ornaments, use glitter. There's all kinds of ways you can make these sparkly and cool, especially if you're going to send them out to someone. Okay, finally got that done. Then I got my colored pencils out. You can use paint, you can use watercolor pencils. I'm using an ink tints pencil in a dark blue, and make a shadow on the bottom of your ornaments. This just gives them a little more dimension. If you don't want to give them dimension, leave them like they are. But I like to add a little dimension, and then a spot of white or a real pale color to look like the reflection on the top of them. And here I'm using a watercolor pencil in white, but it really didn't stand out enough for me. So, and I do my reflections in the same place. If the ornaments are like the same depth and one's not back in farther, I just put the highlights in the same spots on each ornament. And then I didn't like it because it was not bright enough, so I used white paint, or actually it's white gesso, to make my highlights. And I did that on each of those little cards. I made different ornaments and I used different colored backgrounds just to give you an idea of the different ways you could do it. And then this is a gold leaf pen. I got it at Michael's, but you could use just a gold paint pen. You could use silver. You could use a real kind of a yellow gold. Add just a touch of orange to your yellow, and it would be more of a gold color if you don't have any metallics. You could use gold paint, silver paint, copper paint. You could use anything you want. I also went back and put a pen mark or pencil mark in some of the top caps just to give them a little more depth while the paint was wet. And then I used cardstock. I just wanted to frame these to show you how they look when you isolate them with a white frame. And you could even make you could do this as small pictures, and send to friends. And I used a smaller card, same type thing, out of my drawer of cards that I had started collaging, and just eyeballed where I wanted it on the card, and then I went and cut it with a blade, which I'm terrible at getting the corners. It doesn't matter whether I have a new or old blade, I'm still terrible at it. And I have a pad, but I didn't get that either because I just want to do these things. I have a lot of things I want to do and not very much time in the day, even though I'm not working away from the home now. But I'm getting ready to do Thanksgiving, so I'm working on that. This is the first time in 2 years I'm having my family here, family home, so I'm looking forward to that. This is a brand new blade, if you can believe that. I don't know. I don't think they're making things as well as they used to. Anyway, there's your frame. And you can do it out of paper if you're going to put it in a, or you can not do it at all. It's just a preference. I just wanted y'all to see how they look in a frame. They look really, really pretty with a white frame. Thanks for watching.